Listen carefully because this matters if you want to understand women in a healthier and more realistic way. A lot of men think absence is just empty space. They think if they are not around, nothing important is happening. But that is not how people work. When you are not there, a woman may still think about the connection, replay past moments, question what certain things meant, and reflect on how your presence affects her. That does not mean every woman reacts the same way, and it does not mean absence is some secret trick. It simply means that space often gives people time to feel more clearly. When daily contact pauses, emotions can become easier to notice. Memories feel sharper. Small moments seem bigger. Things that felt ordinary before can suddenly feel meaningful. This is where many men misunderstand relationships. They either become too available and never give anything room to breathe, or they disappear in a careless way and damage trust. The real value is not in playing games. It is in understanding that healthy space can create reflection, appreciation, and clarity. When you know how absence can affect emotions, you stop panicking every time there is distance. You also stop chasing in ways that weaken attraction and connection. Instead, you learn how to be steady, how to give room without being cold, and how to let feelings develop naturally. In this guide, we are going to break down 7 ways a woman may process your absence. These are not tricks to control someone. They are insights that can help you understand relationships better, communicate with more confidence, and create stronger connection through balance, respect, and emotional awareness. First, curiosity. One of the first things that often grows in absence is curiosity. When you are not around, the mind does not always stay quiet. In many cases, it becomes more active. A woman may begin replaying things you said, remembering details from your last interaction, and thinking about your tone, your energy, and your intentions. She may wonder what you meant by something. She may think about why a moment with you felt different. She may even question how important she is to you. This curiosity is not always dramatic, but it can be powerful. The reason is simple. When someone is present all the time, there is less room for reflection. But when there is space, the mind starts filling that space with memory, interpretation, and imagination. That is why mystery can sometimes feel attractive. Not fake mystery, not confusion, but natural space that allows a person to think. A lot of men ruin this by trying to fill every quiet moment with more texts, more checking in, and more neediness. They think silence always means something is wrong. But sometimes a little distance gives the other person room to feel interest more deeply. Curiosity can build emotional investment because the more she thinks, the more attention she gives the connection. She may remember how you spoke, how you looked at her, or how relaxed she felt around you. These thoughts can make your presence feel larger when you are gone than it did when you were right in front of her. That is why balance matters. If you are respectful, genuine, and emotionally steady when you are present, curiosity during absence can work in your favor. It can make the bond feel more meaningful because she is not just reacting in the moment, she is thinking about you on her own. Second, longing. Healthy distance can also create longing. This is the feeling of missing someone in a real way. It is more than just noticing they are gone. It is feeling the gap their presence used to fill. A woman may start remembering how she felt around you, how easy the conversation was, how comfortable or excited she felt, and how different things seem when that energy is missing. Longing can grow quietly. She may not always say it out loud. She may not send a message the moment she feels it. But that does not mean it is not there. Many men make the mistake of assuming silence means indifference. Often silence just means she is processing. She may be feeling the absence without knowing exactly what to do with it yet. Longing becomes stronger when your presence made her feel something good, calm, safe, excited, seen, understood, or appreciated. The mind starts replaying those moments and the emotional memory grows. That can increase attraction because people often value something more clearly when they have space from it. But this only works when the connection has been healthy. If a man is unreliable or careless, distance usually creates stress, not longing. That is why your character matters so much. If you are warm, confident, and consistent, your absence may deepen her emotional awareness of what you bring into her life. The key lesson here is not to force distance for the sake of power. It is to understand that not every gap is bad. Sometimes longing helps people recognize what matters to them. Third, reflection. Another major thing that often happens in absence is reflection. When you are not physically there, a woman may begin looking back over the connection more carefully. She may think about how you treated her, how conversations felt, what stood out about your personality, and whether the relationship or dynamic feels meaningful to her. Reflection is different from simple curiosity. Curiosity asks questions. Reflection tries to form conclusions. This can be important because people often do not fully understand what they feel in the middle of constant interaction. But once they have room, they start noticing patterns. They ask themselves whether they felt respected, whether they felt drawn in, whether they felt emotionally safe, and whether the other person brought something valuable into their life. This is why absence can sometimes strengthen attraction. Reflection helps a person emotionally organize their experience. A woman may realize that she misses your calmness, your humor, your steadiness, or the way you made her feel comfortable. She may also notice that your presence affected her more than she thought. Men often overlook this because they focus too much on immediate reactions. They think if she is not texting constantly, she must not care. But reflection often happens privately. It happens in quiet moments. It happens after the conversation is over. It happens when someone is walking alone, lying awake at night, or comparing a meaningful connection to other, less meaningful interactions. Reflection gives weight to what might otherwise feel temporary. If the connection was real, space can help her see that more clearly. Fourth, appreciation. One of the most overlooked effects of absence is appreciation. When someone is always around, it becomes easy to take their presence for granted. That is human nature. But when that presence is not there for a while, people often begin to notice the value more clearly. A woman may start appreciating the small things she did not fully focus on before. The way you listened, the way you remembered details, the way you made things easier, calmer, or more enjoyable, the way your attention felt, the way your presence added something positive to her life. Appreciation grows through contrast. When you are gone, she notices what is missing. And if what is missing was meaningful, that recognition can deepen emotional connection. This is why constant availability is not always the strongest strategy in dating or relationships. If you are always there in the exact same way with no space, no rhythm, and no breathing room, the impact of your presence can become less visible. But when there is healthy space, appreciation often grows naturally. This does not mean you should withdraw to make someone miss you. It means you should understand that your presence has more value when it is consistent, genuine, and not overdone. Appreciation also grows when your actions match your words. If you have shown care, respect, and calm confidence, then your absence often highlights those qualities rather than erasing them. She starts recognizing your value, not because you demanded attention, but because your impact was real. Fifth, desire. Absence can also increase desire, but not in the shallow way many people talk about online. Real desire is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, and relational too. A woman may begin to crave the feeling of being around you again. She may think about your voice, your energy, your smile, your sense of humor, or the emotional state she associates with you. Desire grows when memory and anticipation work together. Memory reminds her of how it felt before. Anticipation makes her imagine how it will feel again. That combination can be strong. This is why too much contact too quickly can sometimes weaken attraction. It removes space for anticipation. It leaves no room for wanting. But when there is balance, when there is good interaction followed by natural space, desire has room to grow. She may imagine future conversations, future moments, or simply the feeling of reconnecting. That mental rehearsal can make your next interaction feel more emotionally charged. Again, this only works in a healthy context. If a man creates confusion, mixed signals, or insecurity, distance creates stress instead of desire. But when there is trust and positive emotional memory, desire can become stronger during absence. The lesson is not to become unavailable. The lesson is to stop assuming that constant contact is the only way to stay important in someone's mind. Sixth, vulnerability. When someone matters to us, their absence can make us feel vulnerable. A woman may become more aware of her own feelings when you are not there. She may realize she misses you more than she expected. She may notice that your presence affects her mood, her thoughts, and her emotional balance. That realization can create vulnerability because it forces honesty. She may start asking herself difficult questions. How much do I care about him? Why am I thinking about him this much? What does he mean to me? Does he feel the same? This kind of emotional exposure is not weakness. It is part of how attachment works. Men often miss this because they assume that unless a woman says exactly what she feels, nothing deep is happening. But vulnerability is often quiet. It may show up as increased thought, emotional sensitivity, or a stronger reaction when contact returns. If your connection has been respectful and emotionally safe, this vulnerability can deepen the bond. It can make her more honest with herself about what she feels. It can also make the connection feel more serious because she is no longer just reacting in the moment. She is realizing that your absence affects her. This is why trust matters so much. If a man is careless, vulnerability turns into fear. But if he is reliable, grounded, and kind, vulnerability can turn into closeness. Seventh, deeper connection. The final thing absence can do is strengthen connection itself. A lot of people think connection only grows through constant contact, but that is not always true. Sometimes connection becomes deeper through what happens when contact pauses. A woman may begin to realize how often she thinks about you, how naturally memories of you come up, and how emotionally present you still feel, even when you are not physically there. That is a sign of internal connection. It means the bond exists beyond the immediate interaction. She is not just responding to what is in front of her, she is carrying the connection with her. That can make the relationship feel stronger, not weaker. When she remembers moments of laughter, meaningful conversations, shared comfort, or emotional honesty, those memories reinforce the bond. In some cases, absence even makes the connection feel clearer because there are fewer distractions. She can compare how she feels with and without you around. If your presence consistently brought something positive, that contrast becomes powerful. Men often underestimate this because they focus too much on visible reassurance. They want constant proof. But deep connection is often built in quiet ways. It grows through trust, memory, emotional safety, consistency, and the meaning attached to your presence. If those things are strong, a little distance does not destroy the bond. It can strengthen it. When you put all of this together, a bigger picture appears. Absence does not always mean loss. Sometimes it means space for emotion to grow. Curiosity gives her mind something to explore. Longing reminds her what your presence feels like. Reflection helps her understand what the connection means. Appreciation shows her the value of what you bring. Desire makes future moments feel more exciting. Vulnerability reveals the depth of her attachment. And connection itself can become stronger when she realizes your absence still affects her. But none of this works through games, it works through quality. If your presence is shallow, then absence changes nothing. If your presence is stressful or inconsistent, distance usually creates doubt, not attraction. The real power is in being someone whose presence leaves a positive emotional mark. That is why the goal should never be to manipulate someone with silence or make them anxious just to keep their attention. The goal is to understand that healthy space can be part of healthy attraction. Strong connections need rhythm, they need togetherness, but they also need room. When you know this, you stop panicking during quiet moments. You stop chasing out of fear. You stop believing that more contact always means more closeness. Instead, you focus on being meaningful when you are present and calm when there is space. In practical terms, this means being attentive, confident, and real when you are with her. It means not overexposing yourself just because you are afraid of losing relevance. It means letting interactions breathe. It means trusting the value of what you have built instead of trying to force constant reassurance. It also means respecting her emotions and your own. If the connection is genuine, space will often reveal that rather than erase it. So if you want to understand what a woman may feel when you are not around, remember this. She may be curious. She may miss you. She may reflect on what you mean to her. She may appreciate you more. She may feel stronger desire. She may become more emotionally honest with herself. And she may realize that the connection is deeper than she first thought. That does not happen because of tricks. It happens because the human mind often understands value more clearly when there is space to feel it. In the end, absence is not something to fear when the connection is real and healthy. It can actually reveal the strength of the bond. It can turn ordinary moments into meaningful memories. It can make your next interaction feel more alive. And it can help both people understand what is actually there. Use that insight with maturity. Let space work naturally. Stay consistent in your character. Be strong without being cold. Be caring without being clingy. When you do that, absence stops being a threat and starts becoming part of what makes connections stronger, deeper, and more real.